Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gaming with me, Tony Mo. And we're going to take a little bit of a break from our regularly scheduled Elite Dangerous content to talk about some of the systems in the game and, some thoughts that I had stirring in my head, mainly regarding combat, the AI, and the upcoming Wings update, which hopes to finally bring squad play and proper group play to Elite Dangerous, something that all of us had been waiting for a very long time, and that I wish was actually in the game at launch. That was a little bit disappointing, but the gameplay that you're seeing here are two clips from my bounty hunting ventures, the first one being a battle against a Eagle piloted by an AI, and the second one being a battle against a Sidewinder piloted by a human player. Both of these were ships that were combat situations that were sparked by interdiction. The first one being myself actually submitting to an interdiction from the AI, and the second one being me hunting down and interdicting this commander, Willy Ex Machina, who, if he is out there and he happens to watch this video, good fight, man, and you probably have one of the best names in the galaxy, hands down. Anyways, let's talk about the AI in Elite Dangerous, because this is something a lot of people have been talking about, and a lot of people have a lot of opinions about it, so I sort of just wanted to discuss my feelings on the AI, and then I'd go ahead and ask your thoughts on the AI as fellow Elite Dangerous players. So, as you can see from the footage here, facing off against an Eagle, which generally should be able to sort of outturn and outmaneuver and outspeed the Sidewinder, but at the end of the day, they are generally two very well matched ships. This is actually a pretty lengthy battle. It goes pretty well, and we end up having one hell of a turning battle, a turning war, however you want to say it. This Eagle manages to pretty much endlessly joust me. Rather than one of us just outturning the other one and getting on each other's tails, we end up having this sort of 40 to 40 second turning battle that leads to a joust where we fly past each other at ridiculously high speeds, ridiculously close, spray a couple lasers off, and then rinse and repeat. And this goes on for about 4 or 5 minutes before I finally managed to get on his tail and start doing some serious damage. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that 2 Federation pilots showed up and just started kind of watching. They honestly did not even engage the guy until like the last possible second. They were just sitting there, eating their space donuts and coffee, saying, yep, who do you think's gonna win? Placing bets. Probably placing bets for all I know. I hope they bet on me because I totally won this one. So at the end of the day, I did claim victory against the AI, which if I lost against an Eagle that wasn't, any more outfitted than I was, I probably would have had to just stop playing Elite Dangerous altogether, because that would have been really sad. The one thing that this Eagle did have that he attempted to employ in a very haphazard manner was a missile system. You'll see him actually fire at me with several volleys of missiles throughout the combat that luckily none of them landed, because I imagine they would have done some serious damage to my ship. And I was actually pretty low shield-wise throughout this entire battle. He did get a couple good hits off at me. So, looking at this combat situation, you would say that the AI in Elite is pretty good. It's not too shabby, it's by no means shoddy, it's not pathetic. I wouldn't say it's exceptional. You often do get instances, I've had 3 or 4 of them in my time playing since full release, where the AI is just kind of really daft. Like earlier in the week, which was a time when I was playing and I didn't have DX Story running when I thought I did, I actually managed to kill and claim the bounty on 2 Cobra Mark IIIs that were assaulting a trade route. It was sort of just a trade route convoy. There was a couple haulers with some small Sidewinders, and they were just boosting through open space, just like, screw these guys. And these Cobras were harassing them. It was just hilarious. It was all AI. It was one of the best moments I've ever had. I'm so pissed I didn't record it, but basically, I managed to take out both of these guys. The one guy just let me engage him, cleaned him off. It was like a 15-minute fight because the thing had a ton of shield and armor I had to punch through with my tiny little Sidewinder. And then I killed the other one. The second one, the Federation showed up, the Federation pilots showed up and actually helped me, but I claimed the bounty on both of them and got like 20 grand. And then I went out and bought a big-ass cannon for my Sidewinder, so there's moments when the AI is just like, doop-de-doop-de-doop. What am I doing? I forgot. Am I a spaceship? Am I a pilot? What am I doing here? They just kind of forget that they're not a star and they shouldn't just be floating out in space doing nothing. And that's not the first time that I've, had an issue with the AI just being really doopy or daft, and other players have talked about it too. I mean, there's players who have gotten like the Doulos assassination because the pilot just decided to not engage them and float aimlessly through space, and they probably burned up all of their rounds and overheated their ship once or twice, but they eventually got like $120,000 credits plus the $150,000 bounty because the AI just decided that it was gonna sort of derp out there. So it's not perfect by any means, but I wouldn't say it's shoddy. Again, I wouldn't say it's exceptional, but I think it does get the job done. And The one thing it doesn't do is that there is a very fine, noticeable boundary between an AI pilot and a human pilot. You know, it by no means is a replacement for humans, and I don't think Elite ever tried, ever thought of trying to do that. I know that's one of the big things that Chris Roberts talks about, is how he wants people to, he wants the AI to be indistinguishable. Indistinguishable. Yeah, I think that's the word. Probably saying it wrong. Indistinguishable from human players. Now, David Braben's never really talked about that, and it's obvious that the AI in Elite isn't really gunning for that. But has the AI ruined my experience, my playtime in Elite? I would say no. It's been enjoyable, and as a low-level bounty hunter, someone who doesn't have, isn't flying around in something like a Python or anything like that, being able to hunt down AI pilots in safe security, high security areas is pretty much the only way I'm going to make money at the start of my career here as a bounty hunter. Because if I start flying around in low sec with a stock Sidewinder with like stock armor plating and a pulse laser and a cannon, probably gonna get my ass handed to me by some other bigger bounty hunter who happens to just stumble upon me and to say, hey, why not just murder this puny Sidewinder? So I think the AI is in the right place. Again, it's not trying to do anything groundbreaking, and if you think that it is, or if you hope that it is, then you will be disappointed. But let me know what you guys think about the AI in the comment section below. I want to hear from those of you who are playing Elite. Does it, sort of break the immersion factor for you? What do you think about the AI? What are your thoughts on it as a whole, as it stands in Elite? Now, the second clip you're seeing here is good old Commander Willy Ex Machina. This guy, all right. If he watches this, I just want him to know something. The whole, like, full break thing in hyperspace, pretty sweet move. Basically, I ran into this guy 15 minutes earlier in the day before this clip, and he was doing the same thing. I was trying to interdict him, and he's just full-on stopping, and I'm just buzzing past him. I couldn't slow down, because when I would slow down, he would increase throttle, and I have to chase him again, and it just worked out in his favor. But like I said, that was early in the day. I ended up stumbling upon him about a half an hour later and was able to interdict him, and we got into a little bit of combat. And sadly, I don't think Willy was prepared for any sort of actual combat. And I don't know if the bounty on his head was actually legitimate or if he made some sort of mistake. It was about a $6 grand bounty, which I think you can rack up from like 1 kill on something like an adder or a hauler, just by straight out murdering them. Anyways, I ended up claiming the bounty because I'm a bounty hunter and I need money. And as you can tell from the combat you're about to see, it wasn't anything glorious. So not exactly my best first impression of what I thought would have been, this really grand fight between two Sidewinders, endless space jousting, the ultimate turning battle, turned into just me slaughtering him with this brand new cannon that I got on my Sidewinder, which, by the way, I completely love. I did actually was going to roleplay a little bit with him and tell him, explain to me how you got your bounty. Tell me your story. I want to hear it out. And if he tried to justify it and say, no, it wasn't even intentional, I didn't really mean to kill the guy, then I probably would have let him go, just because why not have a little bit of fun? However, comm support and, again, the community in Elite Dangerous is just not utilizing the comms. And that kind of upsets me a little bit. As somebody who wants to play as a bounty hunter, there's not really a lot of talking going on. Now, I've tried to talk to a lot of people in a normal situation, just sitting outside of starports. I try and type enter. I don't know if it's always new players and they don't know the key bindings, but I'm going to keep trying, and I'll get back to you guys on that one. I'd like to think that there's more people in the community who are willing to use the text chat and even the voice commas, because there's so much potential for small, really great role-playing experiences to happen in Elite. So if you're out there and you're playing Elite, man, accept that call on your comms. Respond to that text message. It just helps add to the experience. Last thing I want to talk about, though, was that Wings update. Basically, the Wings update is going to get pushed to people who supported the game, who backed the game earlier in development. I forget what stage they said at. It was something like pre-beta or beta. They'll gain access to the Wings patch first. They'll be able to test it out and sort of do a little bit of bug testing, I guess, for it. But basically, it's going to be a system that allows you to squad up with friends and hopefully get in the same instance. Because right now, as it stands, you just kind of have to hope that you're in the same instance as one of your friends if you want to try and, sort of group up and do some sort of combat. Now, that's all I know about the Wings update. I haven't really seen too much else talked about it. Maybe there's more on the forums, but hopefully they expand on it. A lot of us want this to be a sort of system where we can gain sort of group income for certain bounty missions, and there's so many of those bounty missions out there and assassination missions that want you to kill like 10 to 12 pirates. That's kind of a feat on your own. So the thought of, you know, being able to do that with a group of friends and like a nice tight squadron, flying formation out in space, has a lot of us very, very excited. And it's one of the features that I'm looking forward to most as we move into the future of Elite Dangerous. Let me know what you guys think about the wings. You know, should this have been something that was there since launch? I don't mean to start controversy, but a lot of people are actually pissed that it wasn't at launch, and I'm one of those people. There hasn't been enough focus in this game on community, on getting people together and, you know, having ways for people to interact. It's just been so left out, and I think that's where Elite is really lacking. Like, I think there's a lot of great tools here, but the fact that we have so little in terms of communication capabilities and organization capabilities between other players, it leaves a lot there, you know, a lot to be wanted, and just a lot of empty space in the game. You know, so much more enjoyment can be brought into trivial activities like trading and, you know, bounty hunting, although bounty hunting is really not that trivial, by having someone at your side, a real player. So hopefully Elite makes that one of their big goals and focuses as we move into 2015. If you guys have any thoughts about Elite Dangerous, about the AI, about the wings, about, you know, community, and about player interaction, leave them in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next one.